Every skyscraper you have ever looked up has one number on its books that towers over all the others. And that number is what it pays to sit still. A tower in Manhattan or London costs over $1 billion to build, $20 million a year to staff, clean, insure, and cool, and prays that every floor stays full. A concrete parking garage on the next block costs about $25,000 per parking space to pour, has no tenants, no kitchens, no air conditioning, and does almost nothing all day. And yet, that garage in downtown Los Angeles will do over $6 million a year from a 5-story box that a single attendant watches on camera. In New York, a single 200-space garage in Midtown bills more than $3.5 million a year. In London, a car parked by a hospital charges £4.50 an hour and prints money while the glass tower next door negotiates rent with lawyers. And yet, one company that owns no land at all, LAZ Parking, now operates more than 3,400 garages across the United States and does over $2.2 billion a year managing exactly that same concrete box with a barrier. That is the parking garage. And once you see the shape of it, the whole thing rearranges itself. Because if the tower costs $1 billion and the garage costs a fraction, then the garage cannot really be about parking. And it is not. Before the barrier, one thing from you. What is the single most you have ever paid for parking, and where was it? I want the city and the price, because somebody watching paid $89 for 3 hours in Manhattan, and somebody else paid £45 for a hospital visit in London and has never forgiven the machine. Put it below. And if you're already down there, hitting like and subscribe is genuinely the one thing that keeps these going. Because most of what you pay at that barrier is not for the space at all. And the ticket in your hand is how you find out what these places actually sell. Start with the fact that should sink the whole model before it floats. Yes, the long stayers are real. Walk into any garage at 8 a.m., and somewhere on level 3 is a car that will sit there for 10 hours while its owner works. It pays $45 for the day. It takes one space. And the garage is genuinely, cheerfully making less on it than you think because it blocks turnover. But it is not the customer the garage is built around. A garage does not set its price against the all-day parker. It sets its price against its average turnover. And the average turnover is far, far more profitable than a long stay likes to imagine at the barrier. Roughly 70% of people who use a city center garage in America or Britain stay less than 2 hours. They pop in for a meeting, a shop, a dinner. They pay $18 for 90 minutes on a space that could cycle 4 to 5 times in a day. Only about 15% stay all day. For every car that sits from 9 to 5, there are 4 or 5 that come and go, each paying a fresh entry fee, each leaving the space free again in 90 minutes. So the garage is not really running a storage business. It is running a churn game, and a number it cares about is the average revenue per space per day across the whole building. Think of it less like a warehouse and more like a hotel that rents by the hour. A hotel knows a room sat empty for one night is a night gone forever. A garage knows a space sat empty for 1 hour at lunch is the most expensive hour of the day. Every hour a space is empty between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. is money the concrete will never make back, which is why the price drops at night and spikes at lunch, and why the early bird all-day ticket is a decoy to guarantee occupancy. Your all-day car is a flat rate. The 4 short stays that could have used that same bay at $14, $18, $22, and $19 is the churn that pays for it. Get enough churn through the barrier on a busy Thursday, and the long stays vanish into the average, and the average is where the profit lives. It is worth pausing on how big this simple trick got. At its peak, the garage empire was invisible. In the United States alone, there are an estimated 40,000 parking structures and surface lots in major cities, covering more land in downtown Los Angeles than all the office space combined. In Britain, NCP alone operates more than 500 car parks plus every hospital, station, and shopping center contract it can hold. In Canada and Australia, Indigo and Wilson Parking do the same. And the biggest of them all figured out that concrete scales better than glass. LAZ Parking, started by 3 friends in Hartford, Connecticut, now more than 3,400 locations across the United States. Over $2.2 billion in managed revenue a year. It owns almost no concrete at all. It just operates yours. SP Plus, another giant, over 4,200 locations. ABM, over 2,100. In Britain, NCP and APCOA together manage thousands of barriers you tap every day. The model spread because it solved the real problem on both sides of the barrier. For the landowner, a lot or an old department store waiting for redevelopment can be turned on in 90 days into a cash machine, while the skyscraper next door takes 4 years to get planning permission and another 3 to build. For the operator, a building with no tenants, no kitchens, no showers, no air conditioning for floors of people. Just paint, lights, a barrier, and a payment machine that takes cards while you sleep. Done right, it is one of the most efficient ways to rent air anyone has ever found. Now, watch how they protect that average, because almost none of it is left to chance. The first and biggest lever is what most people never even register as the cost, and it is not the concrete. The concrete is almost nothing per day. A surface lot costs about $5,000 to $10,000 per space to pave and line. A multi-story garage costs about $20,000 to $35,000 per space to pour. Expensive to build once, then free to keep. No marble lobby. No elevators packed with commuters. No restrooms on every floor. Amortize $30,000 over 30 years, and that space costs about $3 a day to own. If it rents for $25 a day on churn, $22 is margin before anyone lifts the barrier. Hold on to that word, because churn is the thing that explains everything later. The second lever is how little it costs to keep that churn moving. What is actually in that building? Ramps, paint, LED lights that sip power, 2 barriers. For cameras, 1 pay station that takes contactless. What is left for staff is a skeleton crew that often is not there at all. A normal office tower needs 1 staff member per 2,000 to 3,000 square feet. Security, cleaning, maintenance, reception. A 500-space garage that is 150,000 square feet might run with 1 attendant on site during the day and none at night, plus a roving patrol and a call center in another state watching the cameras. In Britain, many NCP car parks are fully unmanned. You tap in, tap out, and a camera reads your plate. In an ordinary service business, labor is 25 to 35% of revenue. In a well-run garage, it is often under 15%, because the customers park themselves, pay themselves, and leave. And the land that Skeleton Crew is guarding has been chosen as carefully as anything on the price board. Garages do not look for pretty sights. They look for the block where every alternative is worse. Next to the hospital, where you cannot be late. Next to the station, where the train leaves in 20 minutes. Under the office, where the meeting started 5 minutes ago. The location is the product. When the alternative is a $75 ticket or a tow, nobody stands at the barrier doing price per hour math. The anxiety math beats the hourly math every time. Keep the concrete cheap. Keep the barrier unmanned. Charge $18 for 90 minutes on a $3 a day space that churns 4 times, and a building that looks like dead air just printed more profit per square foot than the glass tower next door that pays for flowers in the lobby. And thin is the wrong word here. A healthy downtown garage runs at 70 to 85% gross margin, which is exactly why the next part matters so much. Because on Churn That Fat, they cannot let you park for free. So they make free feel impossible. It begins the instant you pull up to the barrier, because that barrier is a clock. It prints a ticket that says 11:04. From that second, you are paying for time, not space. And time is the one thing you cannot negotiate with after you have driven in. Look at the price board. It does not say $18. It says $8 for the first hour, $14 for 2 hours, $22 for 3 hours, $45 all day. The board is designed to make staying a little longer feel like a smaller sin than leaving and coming back. The third hour is only $8 more than the second, so you stay for the coffee you did not need. Every extra 30 minutes is a moment where your meeting runs over and the garage gets to keep charging for air. Then there is the lost ticket trick, and the lost ticket is never priced to be fair. Lose your ticket, and the fee is the maximum day rate, often $45 to $75 in a city center, sometimes $90 in Manhattan. That is not to punish you for losing paper. It is to guarantee the garage never has to guess how long you stayed. It charges you for the longest possible stay, and you pay it because you cannot prove otherwise. And often, the cheapest price on the board is not even for you. The early bird. Arrive before 8 a.m. Leave after 5 p.m. $18 all day. It looks like a bargain for commuters. It is a decoy to guarantee occupancy. The garage would rather lock a space for 10 hours at $18 guaranteed than gamble that the same space could churn $60 for short stays. The early bird fills the building before the churn even starts. The churn then happens on the few spaces left at $18 a pop. The monthly hides the real anchor. Look at the sign that says monthly parking $400, $600 in New York, £350 in London. That number is not for the 60% who stay 90 minutes. It is for the company that will pay $600 to guarantee one space for an executive, while the same space could churn $800 a month in hourly fees if it were free. The monthly looks premium, but for the garage, it is discounted guaranteed rent. For the company, it is a status symbol that feels cheaper than the anxiety of hunting every morning. You are free to park elsewhere in theory. In practice, the building next door is $2 cheaper, but a 7-minute walk in the rain. The garage next to the hospital is $4 more, but you will not risk being late. You pay the garage on the block you need, not the block that is cheap, and that block is the one that got built 30 years ago when land was cheap and cars were king. The payment itself hides the final psychology. Look at the machine. You tap a card on the way out. No cash. No change. The price flashes for 2 seconds and is gone. Many garages in Britain and America now use plate recognition. You do not even stop. The barrier lifts and your card is charged. The price was never a decision. It was a toll you agreed to when you turned in. You were, in the most literal sense, paying for time while you were worrying about being late, not about being charged. And underneath all of it sits the simplest truth of the whole business, which is that you are a far more anxious driver than you believe when you pull up. Your time pressure is loudest at the barrier, and the garage knows it. The first minute in is always the most urgent and the least price sensitive. By the third hour, the same concrete that annoyed you at $14 is just sort of holding your car, and you're paying out of necessity rather than choice. Economists have a dry name for this, inelastic demand, and the garage is a live demonstration of it. The hospital appointment, the flight, the meeting that started will push you to pay whatever the board says, and your budget gets the deciding vote after you're already inside. And here is the quiet genius sitting on top of it all. Even after the $22 for 3 hours, the lost ticket maximum, and the tap that erased the price, most people drive out feeling like it was just the cost of the trip. You pay to be on time, to be close, to not think. That feeling, the sense of buying certainty in a city built to make you late, is the real thing a garage is selling, and it is far cheaper to hand out than the concrete is. Because the value was never in the painted bay you rented. It was in believing you would not get a ticket. So where does the money actually come from? Not from $4 an hour. A parking garage is a land management business wearing a barrier as a disguise, and it has 3 revenue layers stacked on top of that $3 a day space. There's the churn layer, the one you see. $18 for 90 minutes, 4 times a day, $72 per bay on a good weekday. In a 500-space garage running at 70% occupancy on churn, that is $25,000 a day before anyone stays all night. And underneath that is the contract layer, which is where most of the quiet profit per bay lives, because a bay that churns $60 a day on transient makes $400 a month on monthly guarantees no matter the weather. That is why office towers love garages. A tower in Chicago or London will lease 200 spaces to tenants at $450 each, $90,000 a month, just to offer parking as a perk. The tower's glass may sit half empty for a quarter. The garage under it is full every weekday by 9 a.m. The last layer is the one the operator never advertises on the price board, even though it often decides whether the garage had a good year. Management fees.
LAZ, SP Plus, ABM, NCP, Wilson. They do not own the concrete.
You do, or your pension fund does. They operate it for you for a flat fee per space, per year, plus a share of the upside. The garage you think is run by the building next door is often run by LAZ on a 10-year contract where LAZ takes 12 to 18% of gross and the owner keeps the rest without hiring a single attendant. There's a floor under everything, which means the customer you assumed was central, the driver hunting for a cheap spot on a Saturday, is only the top layer of a 3-layer cake, and the person the business genuinely cannot operate without is not the hourly parker at all. It is the hospital that guarantees 300 spaces at £3.50 an hour to visitors who have no choice, and the office that guarantees 200 monthlies at $500 whether anyone comes to work or not. You never were the customer they built the box for. You were the churn that made the contracts look cheap. And while that barrier was printing $18 at a time, the street it sat on turned out to be remarkably easy to empty. Because the first prop is cars, and cars in Tier 1 city centers are disappearing slowly, then suddenly. Downtown Los Angeles has 3 parking spaces for every person who lives there. Much of it mandated by zoning written in the 1950s that required every new building to build a garage, whether it needed one or not. That law created the garage empire. New laws are deleting it. In Britain, councils are removing minimums and adding maximums. In America, cities from Minneapolis to San Jose have abolished parking minimums entirely. In Australia, Sydney now caps parking for new towers. Each new tower with fewer required bays is one less garage that needs to be built and one more garage that will struggle to fill at $18 an hour. The second prop got knocked out not by law, but by a phone and a virus. Uber. In 2020, ride-hailing mid-generation in New York and London stopped driving to dinner. They were dropped at the door. The garage lost the 90-minute dinner churn that paid best. Then the office emptied. From March 2020, the churn vanished overnight. Monthly holders did not drive to work. LAZ and SP Plus garages that had run at 85% by 11 a.m. sat at 12% for months. Revenue fell over 60% in a single quarter. Many downtown garages in America never recovered to 2019 churn because hybrid work kept 2 days a week empty. The cruel part is that people had not stopped moving. They had just stopped needing a bay to do it. The exact feature that had made the garage cheap for 50 years. A single window collecting $18 over and over on the same painted rectangle was the one feature you could not keep filling when a rectangle was no longer needed. The survivors revealed the third crack. Electric and autonomous. A garage built with 8-foot clearances cannot fit the charging infrastructure cities will require. Retrofitting a 500-space garage for even 100 chargers costs $1 to $2 million. And the long promise of autonomous cars that park themselves outside the center and return on call would turn the garage from scarcity into a liability overnight. The machine only works while 3 things stay still. The city requires bays, the office requires attendance, and the car requires you to store it next to where you work. Lately, none of those 3 have sat still. A parking garage was always, underneath the paint and the barrier, a bet that on any given day, ordinary human lateness, dirt cheap concrete, and an army of drivers who would happily pay $18 to be close would together cover the skyscraper next door that costs 1,000 times more to keep. It is genuinely brilliant, and it is genuinely fragile. And those are not 2 separate facts. They're the same fact looked at from opposite sides. The thing that makes the garage so hard to beat as a driver, that it is right where you need it when you need it, is the exact same thing that leaves it balanced on a knife's edge the moment the city either actually build a train that makes you not need it or legally cannot bring anyone to it at all. So the next time you pull up, take a ticket that says 1104, watch the board that says $14 for 2 hours, $22 for 3, tap out, and feel almost nothing. You will know what is really going on. You're not renting a space. You are renting time by the hour on the cheapest building your city ever approved. And that concrete was never the product. The 90 minutes you did not get a ticket was the product. And that feeling is expensive. If you enjoyed pulling the parking garage apart like this, a like and a subscribe genuinely helps this channel more than you would think. And if you want to see the same move, dead air out front, clever churn hiding behind it, Go watch our video on how gyms make money when you don't show up, or how arcades survive when your phone already has 100 free games, or dig into the full money and business playlist on the channel. That one is the perfect companion to this. See you in the next one.